We're now just north of Luohu Port on the Hong Kong-Shenzhen border. From the Shenzhen railway station here, we will travel to the provincial capital Guangzhou. There, we will take the legendary Z264 train all the way to Lhasa, the single longest distance journey on one ticket in the entire Chinese rail network. Join me on this epic 5,000-kilometer ride. Travel through incredible history and landscape, and watch this train literally take my breath away as it ascends to rarefied heights, closer to the heavens than any other train anywhere else in the world. To prepare for a trip like this, some shopping is in order. I'm gonna pick up some bottled water first. Drinking water is actually readily available on Chinese trains, but specifically, only boiling hot water come out of the free onboard taps, so I'll mix it with bottled water to bring down the heat. Some bread is always good, I suppose. It's only about $1. Pretty good buy, isn't it? Ah, yes. These are what I came for. Because boiling water is free and ubiquitous on Chinese trains, cup noodle has basically become part of the rail culture. Let's pick up a few. Some fresh fruits and snacks are good too. It might be a good idea to get something with high sugar content. They say it helps with altitude sickness, but it's probably case by case. I think we're ready. Let's go. Good morning from Guangzhou Railway Station. The history of rail transport in Guangzhou traces back to 1911 with the opening of the Kowloon Canton Railway. The actual site of the city's main train station has changed several times over the years, with the current one we're looking at now built in 1974. As China's economic development picked up speed in the 1980s and 90s, Guangzhou Station became a massive hub for migrant workers from all over the country, with this square being the site of enormous crowds, particularly around Chinese New Year. Back then, this station had quite a dodgy reputation, though in recent years, both infrastructure and management have dramatically improved, and the chaos of the past is no more. I actually quite like this station as it just looks unique with its classic layout and designs. Our Z264 train departs from waiting room 3. As you enter, you can see a large courtyard inspired by traditional gardens. Around the courtyard, there's a panoramic mural featuring Old Guangzhou, at the time also known as Canton. At the waiting room, there are a few restaurants. If you didn't get a chance to buy food ahead of time like I did, there is also a convenience store here. The Z264 is scheduled to leave at 9:15, and boarding started about 30 minutes prior to the indicated departure time. We go through an underpass to get to platform 2, where the Z264 is already waiting for us. This train consists of a variety of Type 25T carriages. The 25T is China Railway's latest series of conventional train carriages introduced into service in the 2000s, prior to the large-scale deployment of high-speed rail in the country. They're designed for commercial operation of up to 160 kilometers per hour and have a variety of features for better ride comfort and passenger convenience. Initial batches of the 25T were produced by the Bombardier Sifang Power Transportation, a joint venture between China and Canada, though entirely domestic version was later built as well. Soft sleepers on this train has a couchette arrangement with 4 beds in each compartment. I am fortunate to get a lower berth in the soft sleeper carriage. This notoriously difficult to get ticket cost me 1,526 Chinese yuan. The lower berths have some padding so they will also be comfortable as seats. Luggage can be stored under the lower bed or in the space above the compartment door. Each berth is equipped with an onboard display, though these do not work. Under the table, there is a charging outlet, which the whole compartment has to share, though there are also a few outlets in the hallway. Bedding is plain, but they're clean and comfortable enough. And you could always bring some disposable sheets for extra peace of mind. There is also a washing room in each carriage, which is very helpful as we'll be spending quite a bit of time on board. Since we've got a bit of extra time, let's go check out the locomotive. Our train will be pulled out of Guangzhou Station by a Hexie D1D electrical locomotive. The 9,700 horsepower unit runs on 25 kV 50 Hz AC power and is capable of 160 km per hour in commercial service. This unit will not haul us all the way though, as there will be several locomotive changes later. Back on board, let's quickly check out the so-called hard sleeper carriage. It certainly feels more crowded, as there are 6 beds per compartment here. At 9:13, the Z264 departed Guangzhou Station 2 minutes early to begin its 4,980 kilometer journey to the city of Lhasa high up on the Tibetan Plateau. The train will first go north on the Beijing-Guangzhou main line to Zhengzhou, then go west on the Longhai Railway and Lanzhou-Qinghai Railway to Xining, then finally on the Qinghai-Tibet Railway up the highest plateau in the world all the way to Lhasa. The journey is scheduled to take 53 hours and 39 minutes with 13 intermediate stops. This is the longest distance passenger rail service in China, and indeed the longest in the world that does not involve the Trans-Siberian Railway. The train is now rolling through central Guangzhou. In less than 10 minutes, we pass through Guangzhou Baiyun Station. This station was newly built and entered into service only in December 2023. The new station, along with the access line to the north, allow high-speed trains to more easily serve Guangzhou city center. A bit further to the north, there is a large yard for freight trains. As the Z264 travels on conventional lines with mixed passenger and cargo use, this is going to be a common sight throughout the journey. We are now approaching Guangzhou Bay Station on the northern edge of the city. Right before we pass through, we cross paths with the K237 going from Taiyuan to Shenzhendong. Not long after, it began to rain outside. This is from a typhoon that just passed through, which actually resulted in a cancellation of the Z264 service for the previous 2 days, with some of the affected passengers rescheduled onto today's train. Let's check out the train's interior a bit more. At 11:37, we pass through Shaoguandong Station. Across the platform from us is the K921 train from Xiangyang to Dongguandong. Beyond here, we enter the mountains between Guangdong and Hunan. Unlike the high-speed lines which tunnel straight under the terrain, here we snake along and see more of the local sceneries. It's lunchtime now. This is the first of many onboard meals, and to mark the occasion, you're coming with me to the dining car. On this conventional train, the dining car serves freshly cooked meals from a proper kitchen. I ordered some fried vegetables and pork. The set also comes with soup and rice, which you could refill for free. The vegetable was great. The pork, a bit salty. I paid 75 yuan for the set, which is slightly pricey by local standard, but I suppose you're partially paying for the pleasant environment. The dining car has 24-hour service, which is broken into a number of meal and tea sessions. Patrons can stay as long as they want until the end of a session, at which point everyone has to leave. Some hard seat passengers therefore come during the evening tea session to get extra space for better sleep. Right after we cross the Chen River, at 13:15 the train rolls into Lanzhou Station in southern Hunan province, our first stop on this journey. Lanzhou is probably one of the lesser-known cities along this route, but it is still sizable with about 4.5 million inhabitants and is known for a special geological feature called the Danxia landform. The fields of Hunan is an important breadbasket, or should I say rice bowl region of the country. This area is also the birthplace of Cai Lun, the inventor of paper from the Han Dynasty nearly 2,000 years ago. Here we pass through some piles of coal waiting to be moved. In 2024, China used 4.8 billion tons of coal, amounting to 57% of worldwide consumption. We are passing through Xi'an Station now. Hengyang has a population of more than 6 million and is known as the home of Hengshan, the southern one of the 5 mountains from Chinese traditions. The onboard staff is coming around to announce that we are approaching Changsha Station. Here the train runs along the Xiang River, a major tributary of the Yangtze. At 16:37, we roll into Platform 8 at Changsha Station. Changsha is the capital of Hunan Province with a population of over 10 million. It is known for industrial manufacturing and is home to a number of large companies, including Sanyi Group, which produces heavy machinery seen at construction sites around the world. Liuyang, a city within Greater Changsha, is known as the fireworks capital of the world. The single city produces more than half of the global supply of fireworks. We are running ahead of schedule and the train will stop here for about 25 minutes. So I walked around on the platform a bit. If you're feeling hungry, there is a food cart selling meal boxes for about 20 yuan each. The train rolling in across from us is the Z326 from Kunming to Changchun. It's another ultra-long service that cuts diagonally across the country, covering 4,215 kilometers in 49 hours and 52 minutes. We depart Changsha Station at 17:05 and continue north next to many hills and farms. We are passing Yueyang Station now. The city of Yueyang is located at the confluence of the Yangtze and Qinghai Lake. a large and shallow lake whose sceneries are popular subjects in traditional Chinese art. The lake is also known as the place of origin of dragon boat racing. At 1843, we passed through Xi'an Station. The station itself is otherwise ordinary, though there is a conspicuous Christian church right next to it. We largely tracked the south shore of the Yangtze here, and at 1911, we passed Chibi Station. Fans of Chinese history will instantly recognize the name as the site of a pivotal battle from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, where in 208 CE, the alliance between Sun Quan and Liu Bei defeated the much larger northern forces under Cao Cao. The actual battle occurred on the Yangtze River, some 40 kilometers northwest of the train station. Not long after sunset, we roll into Platform 1 of Wuchang Station at 2012. The station is located in Wuhan city center just south of the Yangtze River. This is a major stop on our route as the train will stop for about 30 minutes, during which there will be a locomotive change. Many passengers get off to stretch out. The Hexie D1D locomotive from Guangzhou Bureau that has been hauling us so far will get swapped out by a Hexie D3D unit from Lanzhou Bureau. They look similar, but Hexie D3D's power output is even higher at over 10,000 horsepower. After our new locomotive is attached, the K1074 from Changsha to Jinan on the next track pulled out. It is hauled by a Shaoshan 9 electrical locomotive and uses the common 25G carriages. By the way, the yellow line of the 25G carriages have little brakes and tapering at the ends, while the line on the 25T is just one solid yellow stripe. That's one way to tell them apart at a glance. At 2045, our train begins to pull out of Wuchang Station. Right afterwards, we pass under the yellow crane tower and get onto the Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge. Completed in 1957, it is the first permanent bridge over the Yangtze and a critical infrastructure that linked the railway from Guangzhou all the way to Beijing. As the bridge was constructed with assistance from a delegation of Soviet engineers led by Konstantin Sergeyevich Silin, it was also a symbol of Sino-Soviet friendship. Tonight, the brightly lit city center of Wuhan bids us farewell across the waters on this longest river of China. The train continues north through the night. At 2253, we pass Xining Station. This means we have entered southern Henan province. Henan is known as the land of the Central Plain. If we were traveling during the day here, we would see extremely flat farmlands extend along the tracks as far as the eyes can see. Ancient agrarian tribes on these fertile lands from thousands of years ago formed the original core that eventually grew into the Chinese civilization today. Past midnight at 1:19, the train stopped at Zhengzhou Station in the capital of Henan province. I was trying to sleep, but the bright lights woke me up. This is also where the train's official designation switches from Z264 to Z265, although there is no practical change for the passengers. Good morning as the sun rises on day 2 of our journey. We are entering an area known as the Loess Plateau, with loess being a silt-like sediment formed by the accumulation of wind-blown dust. The thick loess here was ideal for early agriculture, but it is also susceptible to erosion. Over time, natural forces and human activities combine to form some striking sceneries. We are now running just south of the Yellow River, where the water cuts a narrow valley through the mountains that separate the Central Plain from the Guangzhou Plain further west. Mountain passes such as Hanguguan and Tongguan in this valley were crucial in the defense of Chang'an, or modern-day Xi'an, where a number of ancient Chinese dynasties built their capitals. The land here is the site of many historical events and battles, from Laozi writing the Tao Te Ching in the 6th century BCE, to the Battle of Tongguan in 211 CE, where Cao Cao defeated an alliance led by Ma Chao, to the Battle of Tongguan in 756 CE during the Anlushan Rebellion, which led to the fall of Chang'an and the dramatic decline of the Tang Dynasty. About an hour and a half after passing Tongguan, at 7:39, the train stopped at Xi'an Station. Also known as Chang'an in ancient times, the city was the capital of the Han and Tang dynasties, and today a metropolis of about 13 million people with a rich historical legacy. The station is in fact located directly south of the ruins of the Tang Dynasty Imperial Palace. Xi'an is also known for its cuisine, which combines Muslim and Han Chinese flavors. At the station, we run into the T231 from Beijing-Xi to Xi'an. We departed Xi'an Station at 7:52. The train crosses the Wei River a few minutes later, then passes through Xianyang Station at 8:08. The Wei is the largest tributary of the Yellow River and the lifeblood of the Guangzhou Plain. The mound you now see in the distance is Maoling, the tomb of Emperor Wu of Han Dynasty, one of the most impactful emperors in Chinese history who reigned between 141 to 87 BCE and, among other things, dispatched emissaries and armies to open up the Silk Road. At 8:28, we passed through Maweipo Station. This is where, after being defeated at Tongguan and losing the capital Chang'an during the Anlushan Rebellion in 756, the Tang court temporarily retreated. Here the imperial guard mutinied and forced Emperor Xuanzong of Tang to execute his favorite consort, Yang Yuhuan. This tragic event has been the subject of countless poems, dramas, and paintings ever since. At 8:56, we passed through Caijiapo Station. The town is otherwise unremarkable, but just 10 kilometers north of the station is Qishan, a mountain at which the Zhou dynasty was originally based. The Zhou dynasty existed for nearly 800 years between 11th and 3rd centuries BCE, the longest span of any Chinese dynasties. The Japanese prefecture of Gifu is named after Qishan by Oda Nobunaga, as the 16th century warlord aspired to build a legacy like that of the Zhou dynasty. Just a few kilometers south of the station is Wuchang, the place where Zhuge Liang, the greatest strategist during the Three Kingdoms period, led his 5th and final northern expedition to attempt to unify China. In the stalemate, Zhuge Liang fell ill and died here, ending the campaign and the last hopes of a Han dynasty restoration. The mountain range in the distance is Qinling, with the highest peaks above 3,000 meters. Qinling is the watershed between the Yellow River to the north and the Yangtze River to the south. At 9:26, we stop at Baoji Station at the western end of Guangzhou Plain. Here we enter the station together with a train that would run the K1132 service from Baoji to Yantai. The train that departed just before us is the 6063 train to Guangyuan. This is a public service slow train connecting many mountain villages in Qinling. It covers 350 kilometers in 9 hours and 30 minutes, and fare for the full journey is only 39.5 yuan. There's a documentary by CGTN on the 6063 train. The railway splits in two beyond here, with an older line that winds through the mountains and valleys and a newer line that we use which cuts through the landscape with more bridges and tunnels. We have passed through the mountains and into the clearing in Gansu province. The train is now passing through Changsha Station at 11 o'clock. Opened in 1948, Changsha Station is incidentally the last train station to be built by the Republic of China administration on the Chinese mainland. Though of course the station has also received a number of renovations since. It's lunchtime again. Remember those cup noodles that we picked up? Let's cook one up right now. We can still cook cup noodles more or less normally now, but once we get into higher altitude, the lower atmospheric pressure would lower the boiling point of water, causing even cup noodles to undercook. We're now nearing Lanzhou Station, the western end of the Qinghai Railway. Lanzhou is the capital of Gansu province with a population of 4.4 million, famous for its noodles, among other things. We will stop here for a while, so let's get off to have a look. On the platform, there's a much appreciated store selling cup noodles and other snacks and drinks. Lanzhou is the major rail transportation hub in western China. And here we cross paths with a bunch of trains to different directions, many of which connect with Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang in China's far northwest. Our train departed at 1532 on the Lanzhou-Qinghai Railway, which runs 188 kilometers to the city of Xining, the capital of Qinghai province. Check out this bag of shrimp crackers. I got it back in Shenzhen near sea level, and here it is already a bit puffy. We'll check in on it a little later. After running south of it for so long, we finally crossed the Yellow River at 1621 at its confluence with Huangshui River. You can see the boundary where the waters with different sediment content come together. Here we also run quite close to the high-speed line between Lanzhou and Xinjiang for a while. Even in the narrow river valley here, farms still occupy most of the flat land. Shortly after 1740, we started to approach Xining. The train stopped at Xining Station at 1757. If you're wondering what's the train across the platform from us, well, it is also the Z265, the exact same train we're on right now. We do a train change here at Xining Station, where all passengers grab their luggage and walk across the platform to board another train with the exact same seat and bed assignment. This new train is no ordinary piece of hardware. Because of the extreme altitude and harsh climate on the Tibetan Plateau, a special type of 25T carriages was developed for the exclusive use on the Qinghai Tibet Railway. The train has special tinted windows to protect the interior from the intense UV rays at altitude. It also employs more robust electrical and insulation mechanisms to prevent dielectric breakdown. The train's interior is similar to the generic version but uses Tibetan cultural motifs and color palette in its design. Its most well-known feature, though, has got to be the onboard oxygen supply. In order to mitigate the effects of altitude sickness, the special 25T has diffuse oxygen supply throughout the cabin, as well as individual oxygen outlets for each passenger. As the section between Xining and Golmud is electrified, we will be pulled by a Hexie D1D locomotive for the time being. This train set seems to have carriages by both BSP, the Sino-Canadian joint venture, and CNR, the domestic supplier. One way to tell the difference is to look at the washing stations. At 1819, our trains slowly roll out of Xining Station to begin its dramatic journey up the Qinghai Tibet Railway, also popularly called the Railway to Heaven. The Qinghai Tibet Railway, abbreviated as Qingzhang Railway, is 1,971 kilometers long between Xining and Lhasa. It was built in two phases, with the 830-kilometer Phase 1 between Xining and Golmud opening in 1984. However, due to the extraordinary engineering difficulties, work on the Golmud to Lhasa Phase 2 was suspended multiple times and did not complete until 2006. Out the window, the scenery gradually changes from farmland to open grasslands. About 1 hour after departing from Xining, a large expanse of water comes into view. This is Qinghai Lake, the namesake of Qinghai Province and the largest inland body of water in China. There is an island called Haixingshan in the center of the lake, which is faintly visible from the train some 40 kilometers away. Much of the land around the lake seems to be open pasture for nearby herders. The sun is setting not long after we passed Qinghai Lake. At 2036, we pass Tianjin Station at an elevation of 3,985 meters. Soon after, we enter into the Guangzhou Tunnel, which at 32.7 kilometers is the fourth longest railway tunnel in all of China. At 2210, we stop at Lhasa Station for a few minutes. Not far from the station is the CGN solar thermal plant, which has a giant molten salt tower in the center. It would look quite impressive during the day. At 33 minutes past midnight, our trains stop at Golmud Station at 2,828 meters of elevation. As Phase 2 of the Qinghai Tibet Railway beyond Golmud is not electrified, we will be here for about 30 minutes for the final locomotive change. The engines coming in right now are two NJ2 diesel locomotives coupled with an electrical generator car. The NJ2 locomotives are built by General Electric in its Erie, Pennsylvania factory in the United States. China Railway ordered 78 units in total, which were all delivered between 2006 and early 2007. They have turbocharged engines specifically customized for high-altitude operations on the Qinghai Tibet Railway, as regular engines would struggle in the rarefied air. Each NJ2 locomotive outputs 4,500 horsepower at standard atmospheric pressure and 3,620 horsepower even at 5,000 meters of altitude. After we depart Golmud Station, the train will ascend to 4,000 meters in about 2 hours, then remain about 4,000 meters for 11 hours on the highest plateau in the world. Good morning. It is just before 6:30 and we're at around 4,500 meters in elevation. Overnight, we traversed the desolate Qinghai and Qinling Mountains, where Fenghuoshan Tunnel, the world's highest railway tunnel, is located at 4,905 meters above sea level. The alien landscape we're on now is Tuotuo, or Tuotuo River. These meandering streams are the main source of the Yangtze River, carrying glacial waters that would eventually flow over 6,000 kilometers into the East China Sea. The large rock formations placed on the side of the railway are intended to stop sand from encroaching onto the tracks. Nearly 1,000 kilometers of the railway is built at altitudes above 4,000 meters, where the thin air can lead to hypoxia, and storms often rage in extreme temperatures. During construction, numerous oxygen enrichment camps and medical facilities were built along the railway sites. Workers also had to follow strict health protocols. The biggest challenge of them all, though, is the hundreds of kilometers of frozen soil, some of which are perennial permafrost, while others are seasonal and can turn solid ground into a swamp in days or even hours. China Railway's Northwest Research Institute conducted observations and studies for decades prior to the start of construction to fully understand the unique nature of the plateau's frozen soil. On the actual railway, some challenging sections are built on bridges with piles that drive deep into the ground. Special heat pipes and radiators are also installed along the route to cool the ground to ensure that the foundation stays solid year-round. This is also an area with unique and fragile ecology, where foxes, wolves, and Tibetan antelopes live and roam. To protect the environment, all wastewaters are collected in onboard reservoirs and only discharged when the trains return to Golmud. We are now passing Yanshiping at an elevation of 4,750 meters. At this altitude, This town of about 1,000 residents counts as a major city in the area. After Yanshiping, the railway begins its ascent to the highest point in the entire journey, the Tanggula Mountains. The mountain range runs east to west for about 700 kilometers and is the boundary between Qinghai Province and Xizang Autonomous Region, also commonly known as Tibet. The highest peak in the Tanggula Mountains is the 6,621-meter tall Geladandong, whose glacial water flows into Tuotuo River and is traditionally considered the source of the Yangtze River. The terrain here looks almost gentle with rolling hills, but my body is beginning to feel the effects of the low atmospheric pressure, which is only about half of that of sea level. Headache is creeping in and my fingers holding the camera are starting to feel numb. But incredibly, herds of yaks still roam these lands. At 8:27, the Z265 train reached Tanggula Mountain Pass, the highest railway tracks on planet Earth, at 5,072 meters above sea level. A stone tablet at this very spot commemorates the monumental effort and sacrifice that made this incredible railway possible. For context, Mont Blanc, the highest peak in the European Alps, is 4,809 meters, and Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the contiguous United States, is 4,421 meters. The very tracks we're traveling on right now are significantly higher than either of these great mountains. About 1 kilometer after the stone tablet, we passed the Tanggula railway station. At 5,068 meters above sea level, this highest train station in the world has a distinct design inspired by the endless mountains that surround it.
唐古拉山到了啊，然后呢，在列车行驶的左侧，现在拍，在这儿人字行车站就是这个啊。3月海拔最高点。我们现在行驶的这条铁路呢，就是举世闻名的青藏铁路，它还有一个响彻世界的名字，叫做天。
Here, excitement and the vast nothingness come together under the influence of hypoxia, blending into an indescribable feeling. Have you forgotten the bag of shrimp crackers? I was worried that it would pop, but the bag held together. Good job. We are descending a bit now, but many passengers are asking for personal oxygen tubes. This is what it looks like. One end plugs into the oxygen supply, then you loop the other end around your ears and stick the two outlets into your nostrils. Out on the right side of the train is the Tsagya Tsangpo. At 480 kilometers, it is the longest endorheic river in Tibet. At 9:39, the train stopped at Lanzhou Station after running continuously for more than 8.5 hours. The county is home to around 40,000 people whose main economic activity is herding and husbandry. Indeed, the slopes after Lanzhou Station seem much greener, perhaps also because the weather cleared up a bit. At 11:01, our train stopped at Nachu Station. Meaning Black River in Tibetan, the town of Nakchu is the center of Nakchu Municipality, whose administrative area covers 430,000 square kilometers. This is about 1/3 of the entire Tibetan Autonomous Region and larger than the territory of Germany. Nakchu is also famous for its horse festival, which every summer attracts thousands from near and far to participate in horse racing and archery events. The time is a bit past 13:30. We are around 1 hour north of Lhasa near the Nyainqentanglha Mountains. Meaning second only to the Tanggula, this mountain range is of major religious importance in Tibet. Out of view on the other side of Nyainqentanglha is Namzuo, the Lake of the Sky. With a surface area of 1,920 square kilometers, it is one of the largest high-altitude lakes in the world. One local legend has it that the spirit of Nyainqentanglha fell in love with the goddess of Namzuo. However, their union was not approved by the gods, so they were commanded to become the mountain and the lake, remaining near yet apart from each other for eternity. After passing the Nyainqentanglha, the train picks up speed going into the valley near Lasa. Proper farmland started to appear again out of the window for the first time after more than 1,000 kilometers. My headache has also mostly abated by this point. As we get close to Lhasa, tall apartment buildings and factories begin to appear. This is probably the only place in all of Tibet where you can see this kind of urban sprawl. At 1441, we cross the rail bridge over Lhasa River. On the other side is where you can get a brief glimpse at the Potala Palace in the distance. At 1446, we finally arrive into Platform 4 of Lhasa Station 7 minutes ahead of schedule, having covered the epic 4,980 kilometer journey in 53 hours 34 minutes of actual time. Aside from the surrounding mountains, the platforms look not so different from any other Chinese train station. Walking, especially with luggage, does feel more tiring though, as Lhasa Station sits at 3,641 meters of elevation, with only about 2/3 of standard atmospheric pressure. Let us take a proper look at the NJ2 locomotives, the workhorse that pulled us up the highest railway in the world. A big thanks to all the conductors, engineers, crew, and maintenance staff that made this wonderful trip possible. We exit via the underground passage below the tracks into a lobby, where a giant mural depicts the multitude of great mountains on this land. After a final ticket check, we're out of the station. Turn around and you can get a look at the glistening Lhasa Station building under the Highland sun. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this grand journey to the roof of the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more transit and travel content. Have a great day and see you in the next one.